All right, hello again, pre-calculus people. So in today's video, we're going to continue with logarithms. And we're going to talk about the three main properties of logs. And there's three of them that are highlighted at the top of the screen right there: the product rule, the quotient rule, and the power rule. What we're going to do with these is we're going to take a logarithmic expression and either take a single logarithmic expression and expand it out, or take a long string of logarithms and combine them and condense them into a single logarithm. Now, you might be saying, why on earth would we want to expand something and kind of make it more complicated? It's hard to say really why that's important right now in pre-calculus, but trust me, if you go on to calculus 1 into derivatives and integrals, it is a very useful skill to have. I gotta kind of leave it at that. So if you take a look at the three rules, so the product rule says log of AB equals log of A plus log of B. Basically, all that says, if you start with a product, you can separate them out by adding the two arguments. Similar with the quotient rule, if you have a log of a fraction, then we can separate those out by subtracting the two arguments. And in the power rule, the only thing the power rule says is if you have an argument with an exponent, then that exponent can just move out in front of the log. Okay, now I just use normal log, like the common log on those, but the same rules apply to any base. So if you see ln or whatever base it is, it's all the same rules. Okay, so now it's just a matter of kind of putting those into practice. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple examples. I've got three going both directions, and then that's going to be kind of it for this video. So let's take a look at the first one. So we got log of 5x squared y to the third. So the one thing I like doing at first is seeing how many terms I have. And remember, all of these things are being multiplied, right? So like I have a 5, and I have an x term, and I have a y term. So that means each of those individual things, it's going to get its own log. Okay, now as you get more comfortable with this, you can probably do this in one step, but I'm going to do it in a couple steps just so you can see the process. So if I apply the product rule, that's saying that each individual product is going to get its own log and separate it out with a plus. So that means it's going to be log of 5 plus log of x squared plus log of y to the third. Okay, so that's the product rule that's been applied. But I'm not totally done, because notice my x has an exponent and my y has an exponent. So I can also apply the power rule. And what that says is that exponent can just move in front of that logarithm. So my final answer, and notice there's no exponent on the 5, so he just stays what he is. So we got log 5 plus 2 log x plus 3 log y. And that's going to be your final answer. How about example 2? So now we have the natural log, ln of a to the 4th over b to the 5th. Again, I got two things. I've got an a term, and then I've got a b term. Okay, but now I'm dividing them, so now my quotient rule is going to apply. And what the quotient rule says, if I got a fraction, I'm going to take the first thing and then subtract the bottom thing. Okay, so again, doing it in a couple steps. So I have ln of a to the 4th, the top thing goes first, minus ln of b to the 5th. And then I can apply the power rule again. So the 4 can come in front, the 5 can go in front. So my final answer would be 4 ln A minus 5 ln B. Now, if you want to pause the video and see if you can do this third example on your own, before you do that, let's see how many things you're going to have. So I have an X, I have Y, I got a 3, I got an A, and I got a B. So we're going to have a string of 5 logarithms for our final answer. So if you want to pause the video and try this on your own, and then I'll go ahead and zip through the answer with you. So again, remember, the one thing to remember if it's a complex thing like this, with a whole bunch of stuff going on, is things on top of the fraction will be added, things on the bottom of the fraction are going to be subtracted. Okay, so again, I can start this off by saying ln of x squared plus ln of y to the 1/2. Now remember, don't get freaked out about that. Remember, the square root of y is the same thing as saying y to the 1/2 power. This is here our exponent rules. Minus ln 3, he gets his own logarithm, minus ln a to the 3rd, minus ln b. Now, there are different ways to write that, but I think that's the easiest way to go through there. Now we can do our power rule. So my exponents, anytime anywhere there's an exponent, it's going to come in front of that logarithm. So my final answer, 2 ln x plus 1/2 ln y minus ln 3, no exponent, minus 3 ln a minus ln b, no exponent on that one either. And that's your final answer. So that is what we call expanding logarithms, kind of going the, I guess, the left to right, the normal direction of the rules that were up above there. Okay, but now what we're going to do is condense. So now we're basically going to take these rules and go backwards. So we're going to have a string, and we want to condense it into a single logarithm. So let's take a look at these guys. And by the way, if you need to go back and look at and write those rules down so you have them on a piece of paper while we do these, you can certainly do that also. So for condensing, the thing to remember about condensing is your answer is going to be one single logarithm. Okay? Before I do the actual condensing though, what I like doing is anytime you see a coefficient, remember we can kind of reverse the power rule also. If we see a coefficient, it can become a power. So I'm going to write this as 2 log x squared and log of y to the 3rd. So first step, log x squared plus log y to the 3rd minus log z. And now I can do the condensing. So when I condense, I know it's going to be one logarithm, and make a parentheses and go from there. Just as you start, so if that first term, if you see it's positive, we know it's going to go on top. So it's going to be x squared. If you see a plus, we're going to multiply that argument. So x squared times y to the 3rd. As soon as you see a minus, that means you got a fraction, and that argument's going to go on the bottom. And that is your answer. And remember, you can always check your work by doing the expansion, and would that equal what your problem was? In this case, it would. Okay, so for example 2, again, that 1/2 can be the exponent, so this would be ln of a to the 1/2 minus ln of b to the 3rd. So it's going to be equal to, again, single logarithm, ln, make a parentheses. Remember, 1/2 power, that means square root, so that's going to be a square root of a on top, minus fraction, b to the 3rd on the bottom. And that's your whole answer. And for the last one, if you want to pause the video one more time and see if you can do the last one by yourself, do notice the minus sign. We will have to distribute the minus sign and then apply the power rule and all that good stuff like that. So the first thing I'm going to write is log x, nothing to do on that one, minus 2 log y minus 8 log z. So that's kind of how I'm going to start. I'm not even doing anything with the logs yet. I'm just going to kind of write everything, distributing that minus sign so I don't forget. Now I can do the power rule. So the 2 comes in as the exponent, the 8 comes as an exponent. So log x minus log of y squared minus log of z to the 8th. And my final answer, when I start condensing, do a 1 logarithm. First guy is going to go on top, so it's going to be an x. I see a minus and another minus, so that means both of those arguments are going to go on the bottom. So y squared z to the 8th. If you see a minus sign, it's going to be on the bottom. If you see a plus sign, it's going to go on top. And that is expanding and condensing using the log rules. You do need to know the log rules. If you need to write them down and get them in your head, but once you do some practice with them, they become kind of second nature to you. So I'm going to leave that there at the end of the video. As always, if you have some questions, please ask. Come in tutoring, let me know. Until next time, stay safe.